Okay. Hello, everybody. So this is just a quick recording. I'm going to post this to YouTube. Thought I would go over and do a quick review of my Acrobat build. So just like super quick synopsis. This build was way more fun than I thought I was going to have playing this class. I have never played an Acrobat before. Didn't think it would be all that interesting. As a matter of fact, I expected that I would struggle throughout the entire game, and it turns out that pretty much the exact opposite was true. This build was a lot of fun, especially like running it back to back after Ranger. It was just such a good time, and that surprised me completely. So I thought I'd run through some of it, just to kind of a broad overview. Obviously, if you're gonna do an acrobat is using quarterstaffs, and so when you're going through your feats, standard set of combat styles, you're gonna go two-handed fighting, improved two-handed fighting, greater two-handed fighting. Okay, and then for epic feats, I took Scion of Arborea, blinding speed, damage reduction, always in my epic defensive fighting because they don't cast spells, so whatever. Overwhelming critical, obviously. And then let's see where they count. I can never remember where the martial feats are. So improved critical bludgeoning, power attack, which seems counterintuitive, but power attack is adding you're trading 5 of your attack bonus to get extra damage, and two-handed weapon or fighting an animal form, you double the bonus to damage. So you want power attack running all the time because it's basically doubling your damage. So that's a thing. Swords to plowshares, you get that for free. Trip doesn't mean anything. For my thief feats, I took opportunist, I took improved evasion, and I took crippling strike, which is kind of counterintuitive, and somewhere in here will be slippery mind if I look hard enough for it. There it is, slippery mind. It was pretty rad. I'm not sure how I must have got magical training from Shadow Dancer. Anyway, so pretty straightforward. As the build goes, everything max out. Dexterity. Con, I think I started out with 14 base. Int was a 12 base, and then everything else was kind of enough to not be weak. You do want to start. I started with a 13 base strength just so that I could have two-handed fighting right away. You do need a minimum strength of, I believe, 13 for power attack and then 15 for two-handed fighting. So if you don't have +2 tomes, you're going to have to kind of adjust accordingly. But otherwise, everything was kind of pretty much. I do have a +8 Supreme Tome, so obviously that's it. Charisma was basically dumped. But at the end, I did wind up with 152 PRR, 28 MRR somehow. I'm not sure what happened here, but it doesn't really matter since I've got like improved evasion, so whatever. 132 armor class, so I'm like 2 off the armor class I think I had last life with my ranger, so not too bad. 148 positive healing amp at the end. 40 strength, obviously. 68 dex. 50 con. You could probably get these numbers higher with like super twink maxed out gear, but whatever. So what I had, this is my kind of slapped together gear set at the end, and what I had was the Wind Howler mask, Insightful Dex, Relentless Fury, Double Shot, which means nothing, Tendon Slice 11%, and I didn't even slot it. This is a raid item. It comes out of the Killing Time raid. Also a pretty sick cosmetic. Let's see if I can show you what it looks like. So it's the Wind Howler mask. I'm using it in its own right. Anyway, actually made me super happy. This is actually a reused cosmetic that's reskinned from my, forget what they call it. It comes out of the Titan raid, mask of something skull mask or bone mask or something like that, which was, and it's like the only thing in the game that looked like that. So I'm glad they recycled it into another object that you could make a cosmetic for, because that would be a pretty cool necromancer thing. Anyway, so Legendary Dawn Herald Charm, Wisdom 13, Insightful Face, Sacred, Hallowed Mythic Neck Boost, and I slotted it with a Topaz of Wizardry plus 228. 100% of that's basically useless. Wisdom helps my spot a little bit in my will saves, but otherwise it's useless. The only reason I'm wearing this is because it completes my Adherence of the Mist set. This little gem, Epic Eagle's Eye, this drops in Subversion, I believe it's called, in the 12. The one where you fight all the slots at the end. Spot and Search 20 is awesome on a rogue. Seeker 14 is really the selling point here, plus it's got 2 slots. It's got, which I put a Diamond of Constitution 9 and a Topaz of Damage plus 10, and if I'm recalling correctly, the Topaz of Damage plus 10, you get that from Sharn, I believe. It's one of the ones you purchase. It's a augment you purchase from Randall Lyric. So that's in there. And then this is my Legendary Shadowhail Cloak. Hide, Move Silently 20, Deception plus 10, Ghostly, which is awesome. Mythic Cloak boost, you know, whatever. And a green Sapphire of False Life plus 42, which is slotted in there. Could I probably get a better False Life Sapphire? Yes. Do I have one? No, because they're expensive and I already burned a bunch of my shards like a dummy because I didn't pay attention when I was clicking. So, yeah, if you got the materials, go ahead and buy yourself a better False Life thing. So probably get me like 8 more hit points. Legendary Braided Cut Cord, Quality Dodge 3%, Blurry, which is amazing. Dexterity 13, Quality Dexterity plus 3, which is super rad, so that's stacked. So I've got plus 6 Insightful, then plus 13, and then plus 3 Quality. So that's a pretty good stacking bonus. Now Sapphire Protection plus 9, because why not? Legendary Ring of Nightfall, Insightful Intelligence helps with trapping. Insightful Deadly, so that stacks with the Topaz Damage over here. Physical Sheltering plus 33 is redundant, but nice to have. And then I put a Topaz of Swiftness plus 15 in this because occasionally I use this for other builds, so it's nice to have the run speed. This is kind of a sort of a going off the board choice. This is the Prince's Gauntlet that drops. I think it's like random chests or a random drop in any Feywild chest. And this is Lifeblood of the Undead Prince. The artifact displays incredible regenerative abilities, plus 58 competence bonus to healing, repair, and negative healing application. So that's plus 58 hamp, just straight up. Constitution 14, why not? More con is more con. Quality Resistance plus 2, which is great. That's stacking. Quality Sheltering, which is awesome because that's also stacking. So that's stacking with whatever I get from other places. Legendary Flightfoot Greaves. Freedom of Movement, amazing. Speed 30%, awesome. Natural Armor plus 13, great. Reflex 10, moot because I've got saves elsewhere. Mythic Boost plus 1, and the Topaz of Melee Power. Again, that's one of the new ones that you can pick up from Randall Lyric. So I grabbed that and stuck it in here because these are basically melee boots, so I'm going to be using these for whatever, so it made sense to stick that in there. Again, Legendary Death Warden, and this is doing nothing except completing my set. Death Block, Healing Lore 21%, Empower Healing, and Exceptional Devotion gives me a tiny bit of additional healing for my renewal and what have you, but otherwise it's not doing a whole heck of a lot. It'd be awesome if this had a red or a purple slot so I could get more devotion slotted into it, but it is what it is. Legendary Braces of the Fallen Hero, Strength 13, more strength is more. Insightful Constitution plus 6, so that stacks. Stunning plus 15 is meaningless. Quality Physical Sheltering, that's great because that should be stacking. No, it isn't stacking, but meh, whatever. It's there in case I need it. Then I slotted it with Sapphire. Good luck. And then we have Legendary Mislaid Investment. So plus 14 enhancement. Fortification 142%. Parrying plus 6. So that's giving me a plus 6 insight bonus to AC and to saves. Great because that stacks. Physical Sheltering, Profane Well Rounded. So it's plus 2 Profane bonus to all abilities. And Sapphire Resistance plus 10, which I slotted in there. And lastly, I have Epic Glimpse of the Soul. This drops in Epic Orchard somewhere. I'm not 100% certain where. It might be Ghost of Perdition, but don't hold me to that. I have it slotted with a Draconic Soul Gem just in case I get dispelled. It's nice to keep the elemental resistances up. True Seeing is really what I cared about. Then it has Diplomacy and Bluff, which is great for this build. Intercession Ward doesn't mean anything because I don't cast spells. Bonuses to Illusion and Enchantment saves. Now, because those are specific bonuses, they stack even if they're typed the same. So it says it's a plus 6 resistance bonus, and you're like, well, that doesn't stack with another resistance bonus. But because it's a specific bonus, it does stack. It is what it is. Don't question it. Wisdom 11 doesn't mean anything because I've got Wisdom 13 somewhere else, and I haven't upgraded it past that. My beloved Quiver of Alacrity. May it live 1,000 years. And right now for the weapon, I am using the Spear of the Mournlands. Now this drops in the legendary Lord of Blades. This turns out to be like a spectacularly good weapon. Like, it was hilariously good. Once I switched to this, it was lights out. I was just raffle stomping through everything. Just so in case you've never seen it, it's plus 15 enhancement, touch of the Mournlands. This staff, when wielded by the Lord of Blades itself, taints each wound with the power of the Mournlands. Prolonged exposure will make the target more and more difficult to heal and repair, cutting their healing and repair amplification, and also interferes with their ability to use magic by occasionally quelling enemies' invulnerable strikes. So it's giving them like a healing debuff, and it's also giving them the occasional quell. Might be situationally useful. What you're really looking for here is Fetters of Unreality. This weapon is cruel and deadly. It leaves behind wounds that affect both the body and the soul. This weapon has a chance to inflict multiple stacks of vulnerable. So again, that's fantastic, because it's basically just stacking damage on top of damage, more and more and more. So that's pretty rad. Keen, again, doesn't mean much because I've already got improved critical, but if you don't, it's already nice to have. Improved destruction is also fantastic for this build. On hit, your target takes a stack of armor destruction, and it 1% reduction to fortification, 20-second duration, stacks up to 15 times. Less fortification is fantastic when you're a rogue because you want to be sneak attacking everything possible. Adamantine, situationally great for bypassing damage reduction. I did make it sentient and went with the Blood Feast. The first thing I stuck in it was healing amplification, and the second one was plus 2 melee power. So that is the totality of my end game build. Now, for those of you who were watching my stream the other day, you'll see that we ran into a quirk whereby I skipped from level 30 to level 32 at once. Like I say, I'm not sure what the heck happened there, but whatever. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. So I can't tell you how fantastically well this performed in legendary content because I didn't actually play any. For whatever reason, I just clicked on it and now I was level 32. I don't know what happened, but in any event, I wasn't worried about it. I ran around Isle of Dread a little bit. Just solo went after some of the purple name bosses, and it was lights out still. Like, it was not a problem. I healed through everything, and it was not an issue. Didn't have a hireling or what have you, so worked pretty well. One thing I would mention is I do have my manual of stealthy pilfering, just as a backup, because trapping can be, like, endgame trapping can be a bit of a thing. I blew up a few boxes this life because it's not an int-based build. So there's going to be some things you're going to want some greater heroism and whatever buffs you can get, like a manual stealthy pilfering or a skullduggery kit or something like that, just to help you in case, like, you're not 100% certain. And again, I've got a +8 tome, so, like, it's as good as it's going to get pretty much. So that's just something to take into consideration. Unless you want to, like, dump something else to get more int, I wouldn't recommend that, because this was pretty... The problem with this build is it does get a little bit multiple ability to defend just so you can meet prerequisites. Otherwise, you've got to, like, kick some of the things you want early down the road, and I didn't want to do that. So that's kind of the way that lays out. Some things that are fun to have. Staff of Nat Gan. If you do not have this, go get it. It drops in the chronoscope, and then you can make it epic. It is a very good time. It is dodge 9, dexterity 9, deception 7, seeker 9, and then you can slot it, obviously, my ubiquitous ruby of acid that I stuck in there. And it is 2d6 plus 6 with a 17 to 20 crit range. It is a fantastically good weapon right at level 20. If you can get it, go get it. Very, very strong. The only weapon that's better than this at level 20, in my opinion, is the Stout Oak Walking Staff. I would show that to you, except I already fed it to my sentient weapon. But you pick it up in Evening Star from the villager trader. Like, a couple of laps through Evening Star, the wilderness will get you enough comms easily to pick it up. So it's not a huge crisis. Most of us already have bazillions of those commendations, so it's not an issue. But if you plan on playing Quarterstaff builds, like, it might be worth getting it and, like, hanging on to it. But realistically, you could even forego it and just stick with this epic Staff of Nat Gan forever. The differences in the DPS were incredibly minor, so depends on what you're looking for. Because again, some of the real advantage to the Stout Oak Walking Staff was it had felling the oak, and it is aligned as opposed to silver, so it's bypassing alignment-based damage reduction, good, evil, lawful, chaos. And it has an awesome critical multiplier, but I used them back to back, and there was very, very little difference because, you know, every you know, between the damage numbers and stuff, just the way that the math works out, it's very, very similar. So yeah, you can use either one of those. Also, Epic Luminous Truth, the staff that drops in Spinner of Shadows at the end of Spinner of Shadows. Overlooked, again, very, very good. I used that through a few quests just to see, and again, negligible difference. So again, you're trading off. It doesn't have the base damage, but it also has Coruscating and Flaming Blast, and I think Greater Incineration and some other stuff in a slot. It was also a fantastic weapon. Epic Soul Leader, the staff that drops out of the end of the Red Fens quest. I forgot what they call it. Into the Deep, I think. Can be a bit of a pain in the ass to get because you got to get the staff, which only drops at in the demon chest at the end in the optional. But you do. I mean, I put them on the auction house when I find them all the time. So whatever. So they're fairly easy to come by, especially in a group. Most people aren't crazy about the stuff. I use that, and I use the epic version of that. Again, very similar DPS outputs and stuff. It's what you're trading effects for raw base damage. So I just, again, the whole point of that diatribe is just to point out that because here's the Soul Eater right now. So again, so +3 Mortal Strike, Feeding, and Vampirism, and it's just a better version of this when you get it to Epic. I believe it adds negativity and better vampirism and stuff, but it's basically the same thing. So yeah, it's worth it doesn't really matter which of these things you can get them. Now in I also have a Thunder Forged Ally Quarterstaff when I do my Henshin Life. Again, you can use this, perfectly acceptable. Nobody's gonna fault you for using that. Morning Lord's Quarterstaff, I never actually used it. The difference between the Spear of the Mournlands, a Serenian Quarterstaff, and a Morning Lord's Quarterstaff, extremely similar damage outputs. So not worried about this. This is a fun one. The Epic Bone Crusher. This was fantastic. It's minimum level 26, drops in the Palace of Stone quest. Secret 10, Disciple Combat Mastery 5, so again that stacks, which is pretty rad. Unless you're using the angles, which I am, in which case it doesn't stock. But the Rock Slide and the Shockwave are fun. Dexterity +11, which is, I think, the highest you can get at that level. And of course, the ubiquitous Ruby of Acid that I stuck in there. Great. There's also a heroic version of this staff that will accept sentience even though it is level 18. So that's just kind of a fun little thing. I think that's my legendary Serenian staff. Yeah, so there's the Barovian's Quarterstaff, obviously, that you're going to have. One thing I will qualify, and just in case you've never seen it,
get out there and finish the job, soldier.
So that's the obviously you're listening to the Sentient Jewel. So this is the Dinosaur Bone Quarterstaff. Also pretty rad. Again, extremely similar to the other ones in damage output. Right now, all I've got is the flame scale in it, which adds adamantine material type and 15d6 fire damage on hit. So pretty cool. Very, very similar. There's the upside sell to this, because it's 2 levels past the other ones, is that it is customizable. So you can customize the effects on this, and it's got 2 slots in it. So just by the end, it can be just absolutely broken. But I found that my Spear of the Mournlands was just as good, so it didn't really matter. Now, one thing I will direct you to, though, having qualified all of these things, is this guy, Elemental Bloom. I'm going to pull this out so it doesn't, so you can just see the one. Elemental Bloom, this drops in the Temple of Elemental Evil. It drops in any of the part 2 quests. Any of those chests can drop it. Actually, it theoretically drops in any of the rare chests. I've only ever seen it drop in the second half. So take that for what it's worth. But if you can get this, it is fantastic. Not because of anything particular in its stat block. So +3 enhancement bonus, okay. Lesser Elemental Bane, fine. Body Feeder, pretty rad. Paralyzing is awesome. Bewildering is awesome. And I just, of course, Ruby of Acid slotted. What's really different is that it has a huge crit range, 18 to 20 times 3, and it's not impact. That's its base threat range. So this is easily your best quarterstaff for the entire game. If you don't have anything else, this quarterstaff has like an 80.75. The Spear of the Mournlands,
Good.
which is a level 29 weapon, is 144. So like it is hilariously strong for most of the game. And because it's got such a wide crit range, that body feeder is proccing all the time, which means that you're continually getting a buffer of 15 hit points. So it really increases your survivability. And because it's doing wisdom damage, that means that the paralyzing works more because it's a will save. So this is absolutely your go-to weapon. There is an epic version of this, which drops in the epic Temple of Elemental Evil. Obviously, if you want to grind your way through the misery that is the current version of the epic Temple of Elemental Evil, be my guest, but just be aware that it is a hilariously rare drop. These I farmed that literally for years, and it was only recently that I picked up like the last few items. So, and again, it's getting all changed anyway. So these named items will still be existing, but like the elemental weapons that they have now, they're just gone. They're just getting rid of them entirely, and they're not going to be supported, which is kind of disappointing, but it's a decision I understand, because it's like, as they said, there's like 500 individual iterations of those items, and then you have to support the crafting and everything else to try to get it all balanced, and it's just not worth the work. So I get why they're making that decision. But that being said, if you can't get in there, get in early, get in often, grab and just see if you can grab a bunch of friends or throw up an LFM and see if people are say, look, I don't care what you want, I just want the staff. Because there are people, if you've watched any of Tom's videos, he actually ran his staff builds with this staff right to cap until he got the Staff of Shadows and swapped over to it. So that would arguably the only weapons I would argue that are superior to this. So definitely get this. I put an adamantine ritual. I got this a while ago, and I put an adamantine ritual on just to up its durability, and then of course they changed the durability of all the weapons, but meh, whatever. So yeah, it was a very, very good time. There isn't a lot of mystery to this build, which is why I enjoyed it so much. It's a rogue build, so basically it does the rogue stuff. You're going to get traps, so you need your normal trapping gear. For me, that was gloves of the snake and epic leather gloves of the snake, and then the epic key lock ring when you get it, which I arguably should probably have on now, but whatever. And that's it. There's not a lot to it. It's a very, very simple build. You want your standard seeker and damage. You want your melee alacrity as high as you can get it. You want as much MRR and PRR as you can get your hands on. And that's it. It's super, super simple. All your level ups go into dexterity. Very, very easy. One thing I will mention in the rotation is this little guy. Where is he? Sweeping strikes. It's probably very, very small on your screen. Let's see if I can show you a little bit better over here. Where is that? Where does that come up? Quick strike, sweeping strikes. Here we go. So tier 3, I don't know if you can see that any better. Melee quarterstaff trip attack deals 5W damage to all nearby enemies and trips them. And the balance is DC 10 plus rogue level plus dexterity modifier, plus your trip bonuses. So it's 10 plus 20 plus currently 29 plus my trip bonuses, whatever they happen to be. My current trip bonuses, let's see what my melee combat, general combat, trip bonuses plus 7. So there you go. There's my my breakdown right now. I didn't even actually put any additional points into my, I don't think I even took the yeah, I didn't even take any of the capstones. Didn't matter. Either whirlwind would have been what I would have taken otherwise. I didn't bother with Great Leveler. It's not that rad for this build. I don't have any Wilderness Lore feats, so that's meaningless. So I just took these 3 across the top, and then went up to until I got Bring Darkness, because that effectively gives you permanent improved deception. And that's about it. Otherwise, the rest of this is fairly standard stuff. So trap bonuses, adrenaline, 1 in trips, Mantle of Fury, PRR, Primal Scream, Furious for adrenaline. Strike through chance just to get it up to an even 200. Voice of the Fury doubles the damage stat bonuses a private scream. More adrenaline bonuses. Unquenchable Rage, simply because every time you use Primal Scream, it gives you a heal effect, which is fantastic self-healing. Nature's Fury, two-handed fighting, +1 bonus to multiplier 19 or 20. Unbridled Fury, which is your epic moment, and then Scarred by Chaos. So that's pretty straightforward stuff over there. All three of the cores. Three of the cores here, because what you really want is Darkest Luck. And that, which is giving me, if you have evasion, improved evasion, which you do, then you, when you get this, you no longer fail saves on a 1. Step through Shadow. This gives you Dimension Door, so Cover Darkness, 30% from all sources, and then Night Shield, which is really what you're after here. Lies, so that's +6 reflex saves, armor class, and light armor max deck bonus, and +5 force and universal spell power. I took Shadow Form at the very end, so these last two, these middle two I actually took at the very end. One Dance in the Dark, and then Grim Precision, 15% fortification bypass is what I was looking for. Shadow Striker, 5% double strike and double shot. This has a square box, but it's actually passive. And you are immune to energy drain, which is really what you're after. And then it gives Shadow Dancer Destiny Mantle, which I'm in right now. Grants you 25% incorporeality and 25% concealment. The incorporeality portion does not stack with alternative forms bonuses such as Wraith Form. And then up here was the Bring Darkness, which I already talked about. And then standard over here, straightforward. The first two cores, elemental energy resistance, because you always want that. As much fortification as you can get. And then renewal for self-healing. Again, the build is incredibly, incredibly simple. I did take Vault. Why they don't call this Pole Vault, I'll have no idea. But Quarterstaff action, so that's basically your abundant step. Spinning Staff Wall, because this gives you a +50 physical resistance bonus for 20 seconds, which is rad when you're stuck in the middle of things. Staff Specialization, all staff bonuses right down the side. 20% strike through, so improved second strikes. I didn't even take all the trip bonuses. You can burn a lot of points in this tree for what it's worth. Then I took this, 15% attack speed with quarterstaves. Slight Flourish, just because why not? Fast movement, of course, you always want that. Haste boost, you always want that. Quick strike, again, this seems like nothing until you realize that it's giving you a 25% morale, which is a stacking bonus to melee double strike for 10 seconds, which is amazing. Sweeping strikes we already talked about. And staff lunge, I took this simply because I needed 1 point to get up to the next tier. And over here, just enough points to get to critical mastery, a couple of extra sneak dice. Shiv, you use this continuously. This is it bluffs the opponent so that you can continue to sneak attack them. So you will constantly be using Shiv whenever that's off cooldown. The cores don't really matter all that much, but I mean, they're nice to have, right? And then there's Assassin's Trick. Target loses their immunity to sneak attack and 25% of their fortification. This has a bizarre, wonky, slow animation that breaks your chain. So it's best to use it at the beginning and then start your chain, because it will stop it in the middle. It does this weird, very slow motion that they really need to address. It should not interrupt your chain the way it does. And then lastly, 8 points in Harper just to know the angles. I took the +1 enchantment, and I took the Listen Surgeon spot bonus just because obviously not an int-based build, so trapping is a little bit trickier, but that's pretty standard the way this goes. So again, super duper straightforward build, which is the joy of it. There's not a lot of complexity to it. Two-hand fighting is fantastic. The ability to use AoE to sweep through hordes of trash, it's something that a rogue doesn't normally get. And so that makes it such a treat, is that you can just wade in basically like a barbarian and just start wrecking things, and then you bluff them, and then you just do hilarious amounts of sneak attack damage. And then if stuff gets really bad, then you trip it. The trip DC I never had problems with the trip DC throughout the entire game. Now, full disclosure, I do have 3 fighter pass lives that helps, but at the same time, even still, like there's other trip bonuses I could easily take, and I'm not even maxed out. That was like with me constantly forgetting to use Know the Angles for the insight bonus to the trip. I was continually tripping stuff. Like, very rarely did I ever see something that couldn't be tripped. And it trips things that even you don't think can be tripped, like slimes can be tripped. Who knew? So yeah, it was a very, very good time. So you're just going to go through your rotation. It's basically going to be jump in, trip a bunch of stuff, shiv it, and then just wail away as fast as your hands can take you. And then when you're done, one of the things that is important to know, that a lot of these things are triggered by tumbling. I forget which one it is. Pass through enemies when you tumble. Maximum dexterity, immune to slippery surfaces. Let's see. After tumbling, you get a +2 morale bonus to strengthen dexterity for 12 seconds. So you want to be using that. And then here, after you tumble, 50% strike through. So if you really, really wanted to invest even more in strike through, or if you had the points to burn, you could continually tumble, and you could get probably fairly easily get this up to a full 300% strike through, like a barbarian. And you're hitting 4 targets at a time, and then all of your attacks, your shivs, whatever, they all strike through, and your sneak attacks strike through. So it's a hilarious good time. And if you've got an item with improved deception on it, or if you've already got bring darkness, then you're gonna be having a very good time. So again, this build way outperformed my entire expectations for it. It was absolutely great. Loved it. Had a hilariously good time the entire thing. I never felt overwhelmed. There's a few parts where it was slower simply because, there'd be the same part where you're running a limited melee, like anything, like running a barbarian or whatnot. The only thing that, like, I forget what it's called, Old Tomb, New Tenants, the epic Grey Garl's Tomb, where you have to, like, get all those Yuan-Ti shamans off of those platforms, and there's really the only safe way to do is to range them. That's like one of the standout examples, but otherwise it was a laugh. I never worried about it at all. So it was really good time. And again, you get traps, so it's super fast progression because you're getting traps, which is getting you a trap bonus XP, which means you're leveling faster, and so on and so forth. So very good time. Would recommend. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. If you've never tried it or thought you might want to try it, go ahead. I would you don't need a lot of prep, but I would prep for it. Like, see if you can get yourself the good quarterstaffs. Makes life a lot easier. That being said, they don't have to be optimal. Like, if you can get one of those staffs I mentioned, so if you can get Staff of Nakan and upgrade it, or the Luminous Truth and upgrade it, or just grind out a few minutes in the King's Force and get yourself the Stout Oak Walking Stick, which can easily carry you to cap until you get a Morning Lord staff, which you'll get for free if you have a Ravenloft, obviously. Then you're good to go, and then the rest of it is just your standard trapping gear, which if you're going to play a rogue, you should have anyway. But other than that, and again, most of that's pretty straightforward too. You're going to get a key lock ring out of what do you call it? Out of Ravenloft, or you're going to find yourself some Experimenter's goggles, which I think I got in here somewhere. Got to be in here somewhere. I don't think I put them away. But anyway, yeah, our leather gloves of the snake. These are the epic leather gloves of the snake. Gloves of the snake drop out of, I want to say memory lapse. That's not right. Kind of a big deal. There we go. Kind of a big deal in the White Plume Mountain expanded quests. So I've got both. I've got the gloves of the snake and the epic leather gloves of the snake. Very good time. But other than that, yeah, it's very straightforward. All points into your decks the entire time. Max out your decks as best you can without gimping your other stats. Good to go. Again, epic feats, pretty straightforward stuff. I just took what was available. So I took blinding speed because there wasn't a better option. Epic damage reduction because my PRR was a little bit low for my taste. Destiny feats, I took deific warding, double strike, first blood, perfect two-handed fighting. Feel free to modify those as sees fit. I would not swap out perfect two-handed fighting, but like any of first blood, double strike, deific warding, you could swap any of those as means per minute. Overwhelming critical, obviously, if you're playing any kind of a physical damage dealing non-casting build, you want that. And that's about it. Pretty straightforward stuff. So anyway, that's my diatribe on this. I will try to do a build post. Again, it should be super fast because there's literally nothing to it. But other than that, very good time. I'm going to see if I can get myself TR'd for tomorrow. which will probably be days from now by the time this goes live. But get my PR and my TR prepped, and we'll go from there. So thank you everybody who watched this online. Again, I am Monday to Friday, 0930 hours. That is 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. So feel free to stop by and see me there. And, you know, feel free to jump in to the quest if you're on Kenneth, and feel free to backseat because I don't pretend to be an expert at the game. So, yeah, hope to see you then. Until then, I should say, I hope you have a fantastic day or evening wherever you are, and I will talk to you again soon. So take care.